This text has been created by David Gamella for the Spanish version of Moodcast Music Therapy. The voiceover has been created with the help of an AI assistant.
Notes in the air, they gently flare. Melodies weave, bring hearts repair. Sounds that mend with tender care. Join the flow, let's heal prepared. Moodcast the sound that's evidence-based. Therapists guide with wisdom traced. Moodcast where healing's embraced.
Welcome to Moodcast Music Therapy, the pioneering Spanish-language podcast of evidence-based music therapy. I am David Gamella from the Masters in Music Therapy at the International University of La Rioja in Spain, and I offer you this new episode of the series La PROFESIÓN Va por Dentro, in which we will begin a return to the past to discover the wisdom of the ancient Greeks around music. We will see how some of his ideas can illuminate and enrich our understanding of contemporary music therapy.
Tales of music.
First of all, I want to clarify that what I will comment on does not mean that in that historical period this therapeutic discipline as we know it today was invented, but that looking with perspective is an opportunity to recognize some of the philosophical and practical foundations that involve music, and that, surprisingly, are still valid today. The guide for this exploration will be the doctoral thesis entitled Music in the Fundamentals of Logos 1, written by the Spanish musician Santiago Auserón, leader of the acclaimed Radio Futura in the 80s, and artistically known today as JUAN PERRO. His work delves into the central role that music had in the society, education, thought, and psyche of the ancient Greeks, revealing invaluable contributions that we can apply today in the therapeutic field. Get ready to listen to the chapter, Inheritances, Therapeutic Echoes of the Music of Ancient Greece. We begin with one of the most powerful ideas used by the Greeks, music as a forger of a person's ethos, moral character, and way of being. The ancient Greeks were not only interested in music itself, but also gave it conceptual importance. They believed that the souls of young people should be forged and directed through music towards what they called good manners, because music is obviously useful in all circumstances and in all serious occupations, but in a very particular way in the face of the dangers of war. This was not a mere recreational activity, but an essential tool. This is the first parallel we find with music therapy. This discipline seeks, precisely, to positively influence character, behavior, and personal development. The Greek idea that music could shape and direct souls resonates directly with the therapeutic goal of emotional and behavioral regulation. If the Greeks used it to make young people more docile and well-prepared for speech and action, today's music therapy uses music to improve the capacity for self-control, impulse management, and social adaptation. Recent studies, for example, have shown how rhythm-based music therapy programs and guided improvisation can improve emotional self-regulation in adolescents with conduct disorders. A 2022 meta-analysis on the use of music therapy in reducing aggression in psychiatric populations found that music, through its ability to organize and express emotions, contributed significantly to behavioral modulation. Plato himself argued that rhythm and harmony, if conducted properly, can, quote, predispose to the advent of reason, and, quote, to form the psyche of the individual, and to establish the norms of the polis, of the city. This indicates a deep recognition of music's potential for cognitive and social development. In music therapy, this translates into the use of music to stimulate executive functions, improve nonverbal and verbal communication skills, and encourage social interaction. Even Aristotle, in his book Politics, affirmed that in rhythms and melodies there are, quote, similarities close to the true nature of anger, of tenderness, This observation is key. It implies that the Greeks already recognized the inherent capacity of music to reflect and, by extension, modulate emotional states directly. Music therapy relies on this emotional resonance to help patients identify, express, and transform their feelings. If music can be like anger or tenderness, then it can be a mirror and a catalyst for these emotions. Other research on music therapy and emotional regulation, this time from 2021 and published in the Journal of Music Therapy, explored how listening to personalized music can activate brain circuits related to reward and emotional regulation, helping patients with depression improve their mood and ability to process difficult emotions. In short, music therapy inherits from this Greek tradition the conviction that music is not just an ornament, but a formative and transformative agent capable of influencing the depths of our psyche and our character. Let's now look at music as an escape valve, catharsis, and emotional release. Beyond character formation, music in ancient Greece also played a crucial role in releasing tension and emotional purification, which we know today as catharsis. The philosopher Nietzsche, in comparing the aesthetic experience to a primordial drama in the poet's soul, suggests that the agitated mass is relieved of sorrow or releases accumulated tension through musical catharsis. How does this connect to music therapy? This idea of releasing tension and emotional purification is one of the fundamental objectives in many music therapy approaches. Music offers a nonverbal channel for expressing intense emotions, pain, frustration, or anxiety, allowing the individual to release what might otherwise be inexpressible or even overwhelming. In Greek rituals, where music accompanied collective practices, the aim was precisely for this emotional discharge that contributed to the cohesion of the group. Modern music therapy, whether through improvisation, active listening, or composition, provides a safe space for this cathartic discharge, helping patients process trauma, grief, or simply the stresses of daily life. A 2020 case study on music therapy with war veterans with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, documented how songwriting and free improvisation facilitated the expression of traumatic memories, leading to a significant reduction in anxiety symptoms and flashbacks, functioning as a clearly cathartic process. Auserón points out in his doctoral thesis that music, by supporting the fabulatory function of myths, helped to integrate incomprehensible aspects of experience, and to summon the presence of the divine to appease anger or promote reconciliation. This means that music not only liberated but also helped to make sense of the inexplicable or painful. In music therapy, this fabulatory function translates into the ability of music to help individuals create symbolic narratives, to find meaning in the face of difficult situations, such as chronic illnesses, personal losses, or life changes. Music becomes a language to explore the ineffable, to appease internal conflict, and to seek reconciliation with one's own existence. The next part is now the rhythm, the connection between body, movement, and psyche. It is appropriate to mention that the thesis delves into the intimate relationship between the body, rhythm, and the psyche. Quoting Marcel Jousse, it is maintained that, quote, everything in the human being is gestural, including sensation and states of consciousness. Learning by rhythmic repetition of gestures and sounds is in line with the laws of nature. This perspective is fundamental. It suggests that rhythm is not just something we perceive, but something we are and do. The somatic basis of rhythm and its impact on psychomotor organization and consciousness are pillars for music therapy. Interventions that focus on movement, body percussion, or the use of instruments for motor coordination find a strong echo in these ideas. It is understood that rhythm can organize the body and mind. The foot, pu, makes rhythm comprehensible to perception, and musical rhythm encompasses the movements of the voice, the body, and the sound of instruments. The syllable, on the other hand, is a, quote, knot and crossroads, a physical topic in which the exchanges between the dance step, the voice, the melody, and the meaning take place. This reveals a deep interconnection between the physical, emotional, and cognitive levels through rhythm and music. An article published in Frontiers in Neuroscience in 2023 on rhythmic music therapy in Parkinson's patients demonstrated significant improvements in gait and balance, attributed to the synchronization of the brain's motor networks with rhythmic stimuli. Another example is research on the use of rhythm in children with autism spectrum disorder to improve motor coordination and social interaction skills. The Homeric formulaic system, which extended into various planes of physical activity, gestural, vocal, mental, and spheres of abstraction, verbal, poetic, musical, shows us how music acted as a rhythmic mold of thought. This is a clear invitation to music therapy to explore how rhythmic structures can be used to organize and shape internal experience, even before it becomes verbal language. Music in this sense provides a framework of experiences that is both physical and cultural, that transcends the ephemeral. The fourth section of this podcast focuses on music as a narrative of resilience. I will highlight its fabulatory function. In addition to these ideas, the thesis reminds us of the vital role of the fabulatory function in Greek culture. The myths, supported by music, were not just tales. They had a crucial psychological and social function. They compensated for the dissolving role of intelligence in the face of the fatality of death, providing a certain orientation towards the strange or the absurd. Music helped to summon the presence of the gods to appease anger or promote reconciliation. How is this idea applied in music therapy? This fabulatory function is directly transferable to how music therapy can help individuals process pain, uncertainty, and find meaning in the face of difficult situations. Music, like myths, can create a symbolic space where you can, giving voice to the inexpressible. Through songwriting, musical improvisation, or creating soundscapes, patients can construct narratives that allow them to express and process traumatic or incomprehensible experiences, even when words fail. Fostering resilience. Just as myths offered comfort and guidance in the face of tragedy, music therapy can help individuals find inner resources to cope with adversity by creating personal soundtracks for their life stories. Connect with the transcendent. Music has an inherent ability to invoke feelings of connection, spirituality, or wonder. This can be therapeutic for those searching for meaning beyond the purely rational, helping to placate anxieties and foster hope. Another 2024 longitudinal study on music therapy with cancer patients showed that co-creating songs about their journey with the disease allowed them to develop coping narratives and find a sense of purpose in their lives, which significantly improved their emotional well-being and resilience. The music, through the adjustment of the words to the movements of the dance, to the rhythm of the verse and to the melody, selects the most relevant of the mythical story and contributes to summoning the presence of the gods. This is a powerful analog of how music therapy can help individuals focus on the most important aspects of their experience and summon their own inner resources or sense of purpose. The next section focuses on the idea of music as a cognitive bridge, the logos of musical practice. The thesis proposes a logos of musical practice, a type of reason inherent in music itself. Aristoxenus of Taranto, the first music theorist in the West, emphasized that the study of harmony requires the cooperation of the ear, akoi, and the intellect, dianoia, with the accuracy of perception being almost a principle or axiom. How does this translate to the field of music therapy? This validates the idea that music not only affects emotions, but is also an avenue for knowledge and understanding, integrating sensory perception with intellect. Music therapy uses this connection to cognitive stimulation, improve attention, memory, problem-solving, and other executive functions through structured musical activities, rhythmic exercises, pattern recognition, improvisation with rules. Sensory integration. Music, being an art that integrates multiple modalities, hearing, touch, proprioception through rhythm can be a powerful tool for people with sensory processing difficulties. The hidden harmony to which Heraclitus referred, and the notion that to think is to listen to a silent chord of the ancestral choir that ends up expressing itself in words, suggest that music therapy can facilitate access to pre-logical or unconscious thought processes and help to give them verbal or nonverbal form and expression. Language and communication development. Music shares a foundation with language in the organization of sound and rhythm. The thesis mentions how the syllable is a crossroads where the voice, melody, and meaning meet. This supports the use of music therapy for the improvement of speech, articulation, and communication in general. Music therapy can help access and organize internal experiences that are not easily verbalized. A recent 2023 study on music therapy in patients with post-stroke aphasia showed that melodic and rhythmic singing, melodic intonation therapy, significantly improved speech fluency and word retrieval, activating brain regions related to language and cognition. Another line of research explores how exposure to music can influence working memory and cognitive flexibility in older people. Musical practice, far from being purely instinctive, has a common selective logic that the logos inherits. This means that music, like thought, operates on principles of organization and selection. This is fertile ground for the application of music therapy, which capitalizes on music's inherent ability to structure and make sense of experience. In the last part, we will analyze the decline of the sacred function of music, an important lesson for modern music therapy. We will examine a crucial process in ancient Greece, the gradual shift from the old art of the muses to writing as it became more widespread. The public functions of music were reduced to entertainment and spectacle. Plutarch lamented that in his time, 1st century AD, the decadent forms of music had progressed so far that there was no memory or understanding of their use for education. This change implied the abandonment of instrumental accompaniment by the rhapsodes and the fixation of the canonical text without musical support. This historical process offers a profound lesson for music therapy. It shows us how the fragmentation of knowledge and the specialization of the arts can lead to the loss of a more holistic and integrated understanding of the human being. Modern music therapy, in a sense, seeks to reclaim and restore that sacred or fundamental function that music had in antiquity, which was relegated by the predominance of writing and purely intellectual logos. Music therapy not only offers entertainment, but also delves into the deep, formative, cathartic, and cognitive dimensions of music, precisely those that the Greeks valued, and that, over time, were forgotten for the sake of a reason that affirmed itself by distancing itself from morality and musicality. Music therapy, therefore, can be seen as an effort to reintegrate music into the core of human health and well-being, reminding us of its inherent power to touch the soul, organize the mind, and connect with the depths of our humanity. It is an attempt to restore to music its prestige as a technique that trades with the sacred. Well, this has been the sound footprint, paraphrasing one of the most common concepts in the artist Santiago Auserón. These passages have allowed us to connect some of the foundations of Greek thought with contemporary music therapy. I encourage you to learn more about his thesis, Music in the Fundamentals of Logos, which has public access at the Complutense University of Madrid. This work was directed by José Luis Pardo, professor of philosophy and a great specialist in Deleuze, Debord, Agamben, and Levinas. Before concluding, let's remember the 6 key points that we can extrapolate to the field of music therapy. 1. Music as an agent of ethical and moral formation, its ability to mold character, regulate emotions, and prepare for action and reason. 2. Music as a way to catharsis and emotional liberation, a means to release tension, process incomprehensible experiences, and find meaning in the face of adversity. 3. The intimate connection between rhythm, body, and psyche, the recognition that rhythm organizes not only movement, but also thought and consciousness, laying the foundation for a holistic understanding of the self. 4. The fabulatory function of music, its power to create symbolic narratives that help integrate pain and find existential meaning. 5. Music as sensory and cognitive integration, the collaboration between ear and intellect for the understanding and structuring of experience, offering a pathway for cognitive development. 6. And a final warning from the story, the reminder that music can lose its profound function if it is relegated to mere entertainment, underscoring the need for music therapy to reclaim and restore its essential value for human well-being. Greek music, with its emphasis on proportion, harmonia, and rhythm, rhythmos, was not a mere accompaniment, but a life force that shaped the human experience as a whole. Even in the small details of Homeric verse, such as the epithet formula that acts as a rhythmic motif, we see how music permeated and structured language and thought. The dynamic logos of musical form does not resemble the hierarchical and symbolic language that designates the visible, but is equated with it by sharing an acoustic foundation of certainty. This invites us to listen to music not only as a sequence of sounds, but as a profound manifestation of reason, a reason that is experienced with the body, emotions, and intellect, and that has the power to heal and transform. By listening to music with new ears, we can perceive the rhythmic habits contracted over millennia and recognize that in its forms, a dark memory of a logic prior to writing is preserved. A logic that is both natural and cultural, and that connects us to the ancestral choir of humanity. Music therapy, in this sense, not only uses music, but also participates in an ancient tradition that seeks the harmony of being. Thank you for joining us for this episode titled Heritage: Therapeutic Echoes of the Music of Ancient Greece. I hope this trip has offered you a new perspective on the transformative power of music and its eternal relevance. We will not find you in the following episode of Moodcast Music Therapy, the pioneering podcast in Spanish of evidence-based music therapy. Until then, I give you un abrazo sonoro.